today we are melting down a bunch of different kinds of wax, but one of the kinds that we're melting down is cappings wax. So I'll show you what that means. So this is a piece of honeycomb that we've cut out of our hive, and you can see that along the center there is, let's see, can you point to the rib right here with the hive tool? There's a central rib right there that runs down the center, and then they build out hexagon cells of wax. And then once the cells are full, then they cover it with a coating called cappings wax. And when we harvest the honey, when we extract the honey, we scratch off the cappings and we capture them in a container, let the honey drip out, and then they look like this. This is cappings with water mixed together. And this is what we're melting down today. So we're washing it in water, we'll dump out the water, and then put it in a pot on the stove. This is our solar wax melter. Sometimes it gets warm enough in the winter, but usually that's more of a summer thing. Anyway, that's why we're melting our wax indoors this time. Here's our big barrel of cappings wax. This is what he gets from cutting off the cappings when he's extracting honey. And it's, you know, a 50-gallon barrel, so it's a bunch of wax. And we're gonna dig some out and we're going to melt it down and use it for candles. So it's really hard to get it out though. We have this big old knife here and a hammer and all this stuff. All right, so we're just digging this out and we're gonna toss it into this bucket of water. The first step. All right, this is the cappings wax that we scraped out of that bucket. It's just like a 5-gallon bucket of wax, and then we filled it up with hot water. We wash it in water because there's a lot of honey and other debris. If there's honey in the wax, it's a problem when you heat it because the honey will boil over, and it boils faster than the wax. And it tends to boil out over the pot and leaving honey and residue wax all over the surface that you're cooking it in. But if you rinse it off, it's less likely for that to happen. So Stan's pouring the rinsed cappings wax through the strainer into this flower pot. Why the flower pot, Stan?
Well, the screen fits on top of it and it has a hole in the bottom of it so the water drains out.
Oh, so it'll kind of water the plants at the same time?
Yeah.
I mean, it's winter, but you
right.
know.
That's the idea. So this is relatively free of honey. That's the main thing.
Yeah. He rinses it once more at the sink to get all the honey out. Here is the cappings wax in this pan. You can see we have papered the counter, and then we have our hot plate, and then we have this aluminum pan on top, and we have the cappings wax mixed with some fresh water. We used boiling water this time and it heated up a lot quicker, and that really worked out. You can see it's starting to boil, and when it's all the way boiling, we'll filter off this top layer of like crud. So now we have the wax boiling, and we'll let it boil just to make sure everything's melted, and then we'll skim it. So here's our skimming tool. It's just a screen we bought. We just skim out this nasty stuff here, and we just put it into the garbage. Let the wax drip, and then notice the wax is solidifying there. That's okay, it will melt again. Just let it get out, and then we keep going until we get all of the gross stuff out. Hey, good morning. I just wanted to show you how the wax turned out from melting down all the cappings yesterday. All right, we've got some pretty beautiful bright yellow beeswax. We're really happy with that. Anyway, we're gonna dump it out in a sec. All right, Stan, go ahead. It's dumping out. We dumped out the water already, so we have this cake that is really, really nice, and this really thick, beautiful beeswax. We can scrape off this yucky part, the bits of particulates that stayed in suspension after we screened it. I just melted some really dark wax, And the next wax I'm going to melt is going to be really light, colored like this. So we just need to clean the pot, because if this is in the gold wax, in the bright yellow wax, it will not be bright yellow anymore. It's just like mixing paint. If you mix dark wax with light wax, you get muddy in the middle wax. So we get this stuff out as best we can in the pan. We can never get everything, but we get as much as we can. So the trick to doing this is to doing it while it's hot and also not burning yourself. And I do that by getting a thick batch of napkins. And I'm developing, like my grandma had, the hot pad hands, where my hands are becoming resistant to heat. Hey, it's Alicia Moulton at the Honey Company, and today we are going to take the wax that we've been refining and we're going to pour some candles. We like to always do candles on winter solstice so we can make light of the darkness on the darkest day of the year. And we like to have a little party and share some of that candlelight with our neighbors. Okay, here we have a pot of heated beeswax. It's melted and it's a little too hot because you can see it's kind of boiling. And so we're gonna let it cool down, because if we use cooler wax, then the molds stretch out a little less and it makes them last longer. Now our wax is cooled down and it's calm and it's liquid and it's ready to pour into the molds. We have a whole nativity set, and my sister, her Joseph's head fell off and the shepherd is maimed beyond use. So we're going to pour my sister Joseph and shepherd, and her set doesn't have wicks in it, so we're gonna do that one. And then this is a brand new one we just got. It's a big pine tree. So these are polyurethane molds, so we're gonna do that one. We'll put a wick in that one, so I think it'll be fun to watch it burn down. And then another one we'll do right now is these votive candles, and I'm excited because this is a brand new mold for us too. We'll put wick in those and then have some beeswax votive candles just to use at our house. Here are the supplies that we use to do this. Okay, this is my favorite beeswax pitcher. We have a lot of things that we got this at a thrift store. It's stainless steel and it has a spout. So I think it was a water pitcher for a local church. So that makes a really great pourer. And then we always have a screen of some kind laying around in case the wax gets stuff in it. We have measuring cups that are dedicated to wax. We never try to clean them. We just leave the wax on them, and they're just like beeswax measuring cups. I'm not gonna bake a cake with this ever again. Same with this super beeswax encrusted hot pad. I use these the most when I'm doing wax wraps, but they're very waxy but protect my hands. And then we use sewing pins. I like the really long ones, or these ones with a T that are, I think they're for bulletin boards, and we use those to hold the wick in the candle. Okay, so we use the elastics. I usually double wrap a couple of elastics. This one's really tall, so I find that I need one at the bottom and the top, especially because this mold is split way down so we can get that head off. It really does have a tendency to pop off. Okay, and then we line up the polyurethane so that it's really, so that there's not a seam in it. That makes sense. And then we'll do that same thing with Joseph. We write which mold it is just with Sharpie on the mold. Like this is the shepherd, and we do that so that, because it's hard to remember year to year. All right, so now we're gonna pour the wax into the mold, and this is my first one in a long time, so hopefully I have a steady hand. When you do this, you want it to be not do that, but that's why we have paper on the counter. And you want it to be kind of a continuous pour, and then you want to tap it to get the air bubbles off of the chin and the face here. And then we'll let it settle for a minute, and then we'll top that off so it has a steady base. Let's also pour the shepherd. Okay, ooh, we had more success there for sure. Let's tap it. The shepherd is holding this little lamb that tends to have ears that and then any spilled wax is fine. We'll just toss it back in the pot, remelt it, and use it again. Okay, this is our new Christmas tree mold. We've seen it around and finally got one ourselves. Okay, and so we're just pulling it out of the bag. It comes with some elastics here and instructions. And what we're gonna do is wrap the elastics around the candle, and then we'll thread the wicking through, and then we'll pour in some wax. This one comes with 4. And I wonder if it needs all 4 or if just 2 will do it. Seems like 2 is doing the job. Maybe over time we'll add to it. Okay, the next thing is that we're going to measure some wick out. So we want it to be just a little bit longer than the candle on both ends. And then we cut it like this. And then just a quick thing about wick. There are flat wicks and braided square wicks. Maybe you can see the difference. The flat wick is used for candles with a larger diameter than the square wick because it's a larger wick. And we'll do the same thing for the tree. We try to match the wick size with the candle diameter because if the wick is too large, then it will burn really fast. If it's too small, then it will cause dripping candles or big dents. Let's see. So we have these holes on the back. So we're gonna stab this into it and then push it through. So sometimes it goes through on the first one, sometimes you push it through. So then once it's through, then you come to the other side and you get one of these sewing pins. You stick the pin through the wick here and then you just kind of stab it into the side. This is going to be the bottom of the candle. So, and then we pull it tight so that there's not slack in the string. We want a nice wick. I guess you don't pull it tight, you leave it loose. If it's too tight, then the wick burns incorrectly. So it's a loose but straight. And then we center it like that before we put the wax in. My favorite candle threader is this wire that has just this Stan hammered it flat and then notched a V in it with his Dremel tool. And that's my favorite candle threader. Okay, so we can thread this wick through the pine tree mold like this. Whoops, didn't catch. Putting the wick in is kind of the hardest part. So again, this will be the top of the candle and this will be the bottom. This one is really wide, so I'm going to pick one of these longer pins. Maybe over here. I noticed that when I was poking it through there, it was splitting that seam apart. And then I'll adjust it once the wax is in there to make it straight. Next up is pouring the wax into the mold. Okay, it got like waxed down to the burner. Sometimes that happens. So I can do it 2 ways. I can do it from pouring just straight out of here, or I can do it with the measuring cup. I think since this is small, I'm going to choose the measuring cup. Okay, so you can tell when it's time to remove a candle from its mold because you can see here that this looks different, like it looks like it's not solid in the middle, but it is on the edges. And these ones that we did earlier, this one's not quite ready. You can see that that's still liquid in the middle, but this one might be ready. So we're gonna try that one. To take them out of the mold, you take off the elastics. Sometimes it helps to have 2 people, but these ones are split pretty far because we've made these candles a lot of times and we know that the shepherd has some trouble getting out of the mold. So we unmold it by just kind of gently peeling it back. Look, he came out. That's perfect. And his chin is intact and the little lamb's ear is intact. That's great. We had a little bit of a black bit sunk to the bottom as it was cooling, but that's perfect. How fun. And we'll do Joseph in just a minute. Joseph is ready to come out of its mold. The center feels hard and looks the same color as the edges. So we take off the elastics and we're going to peel it back like this. So you can see this one's split very far. This head, like I'm making these for my sister, like I said, because the head of her Joseph popped off. She tried to fix it with a toothpick, so it kind of looks like Hunchback Joseph. So we're going to switch out for one with an intact head. And look at that. That's so good. The chin does have a tiny bubble, but I think that that's within a good tolerance level. Anyway, he turned out cute. She's getting the sheep and the Joseph to complete your nativity set. Well, we've been busy at work making lots of candles, but I thought I'd unmold the one here that's left over. Oh, look at this. You guys, I was wondering how to hold up this stick candle. This hexagon stick candle is actually my favorite candle mold. I just really like the candle that comes out of it. It's really cool. It's hexagon and long and skinny. Anyway, look at this. That's pretty awesome. It just stays right up. We're using that. Okay, so this is the last pine tree. This is a new mold to me. It's been around for a while. We just get one new mold each year, or sometimes we get two. But so this is our new big mold for the year, and I'm really excited to try it out. Oh, I wonder if it's a pine cone. I put pine tree because I ordered a bunch of pine trees, but now that I'm unmolding it, it looks like it's a pine cone. Cool. Surprise! That's really fun. I'm actually really happy because I've been wanting this mold for a pretty long time now. I'm gonna have to get Stan to have him help me pull it out. I'll hold it open. Will you pull it out? It's still kind of soft, but... Oh, look at that. Okay, well this is what it looks like unmolded. It got a little mashed because I took it out too soon. I think I'm gonna put it back in the pot and try again. That's the beauty of beeswax, is that you can do that.